Hi there, Mike Hall here, talking to you from Jersey in the Channel Islands. Believe it or not, Jersey is the worst affected part of the British Isles for coronavirus right now. Um, so we find ourselves yet again locked up and with social contact being limited. But I'm not going to let that get me down. But one of the great things about stamp collecting is it's something that you can enjoy in solitude, and there's nothing better than a freezing cold night sitting in a snug and warm room surrounded by your stamp collection. But I'm not going to let this virus ruin my festive cheer. So today what I'd like to cover in briefly is the popular collecting theme of Christmas stamps. Now, one of the main reasons Christmas stamps is such a popular area of collecting is that generally these commemorative stamps were printed in very large quantities, and as such you can build a collection for a very modest sum, which makes it quite attractive. Now naturally you still have people that go into more specialisation and spend more money. For example, you could build a collection with postmarks on Christmas Day, because believe it or not all post offices get Christmas Day off. Another big area, if you want to spend real money, is to get involved in stamp errors issued at Christmas. These are normally very rare and very valuable. But it is one of those things where if you're building a collection of Christmas stamps, it's very attractive when they're in the album. There's a wide range of designs covering a whole range of sort of areas associated with Christmas, whether it be the religious aspects of the nativity, snowmen, Santa, Christmas trees, the holly and ivy, the list goes on, and it can be a very attractive collection. So without further ado, now let's start to look at some Christmas stamps. There's no better place to start than the beginning. This stamp here is considered the world's first Christmas stamp, and it comes from Canada, although it is actually a matter of some philatelic debate, as it wasn't issued as a commemorative stamp. It is known as the map stamp, and the issue was actually meant to mark the inauguration of the imperial penny postage rate. Personally, I'm willing to accept it as the world's first Christmas stamp, simply because its first official day of use was Christmas Day, and there's no denying that it does have the words Xmas 1898 printed on it. There's also a side story with this stamp. The Canadian Postmaster General William Mullock developed a stamp for issue on November the 9th to honour the Prince. By that he meant the Prince of Wales. But when Queen Victoria asked, what Prince, in a displeased manner, Mullock's quick of thinking, sense and danger replied, why, madam, the Prince of Peace. This example featured here is a wonderful block of 4, and we sold this a couple of weeks ago to one of our clients, and it's a real stunning rarity. It was one of those stamps I was rather annoyed when we sold it almost immediately after we got it in the stock, because I would have much preferred to have had it in my possession for longer, but such is the way. The argument on what was the world's first Christmas stamp continued. In December 1937, Austria issued these stamps for use on greetings cards, and the designs feature a vase of roses and the signs of the zodiac. However, the absence of any Christmas theme raised philatelic suspicions as to whether it was issued for Christmas greetings or simply for all-round greetings. Certainly in my opinion here, the use of the zodiac suggests the latter, which would be for birthdays, meaning the intent was for year-round use. We then move on to this issue from Brazil from 1939 and 40, which were a set of 4 youth stamps which were issued to raise money for charitable institutions. And the first stamp in this series, which was issued on the 20th of December 1939, undeniably features the 3 wise men and the Star of Bethlehem. But as this was part of a set, and the entire issue was clearly not intended as a commemorative stamp issue at all, it remains disputed whether this is a specific Christmas stamp, irrespective of its clear Christmas-themed design. This is the first stamp issue, which is undisputable. It's a Christmas commemorative stamp, and it was clearly issued specifically for Christmas. And these were the first stamps to depict the nativity scene, and they were issued in 1943 in Hungary during the difficult time in the middle of World War II. Australia issued its first Christmas stamps in 1957. At the time, they were issued as an experiment, but the public reaction was so favourable. Christmas stamps were then issued annually thereafter. And this stamp was issued on the 6th of November 1957, and it was designed by Donald Cameron based on a painting by Sir Joshua Reynolds, which shows a child at prayer and the Star of Bethlehem. Australia has issued Christmas stamps every year since this stamp, and it holds as a country the record for issuing annual Christmas commemorative stamps longer than any other country in the world. The United States issued its first Christmas stamp in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on November the 1st, 1962, and this features a wreath and candles. Customers had been asking for a Christmas stamp for years, and the demand was expected to be high, so the Post Office Department ordered 350 million of these stamps to be printed. At the time, that was the largest print run for a special stamp. But they were not wrong, because the initial supply sold out quickly, and the Bureau of Engraving and Printing had to work round the clock to print more. Amazingly, by the end of 1962, 1 billion of these stamps had been printed and distributed. Needless to say, it's not a rare stamp. There was some controversy at the time, with certain groups raising discontent about maintaining the separation of church and state. But legal actions that were taken to bar the stamps were not successful. Despite being the first country in the world to issue postage stamps with the penny black in 1840, Britain was actually late to the party when it came to issuing Christmas stamps. The first British commemorative stamps for Christmas were not issued until 1966. Now, you might be wondering why the designs looked like they were drawn by a school child, and that's because they were drawn by a school child. The story behind that is when Tony Benn became Postmaster General in October 1964, he was put under pressure from the general public to issue Christmas stamps. However, officials within the post office, in true bureaucratic form, resisted, saying that Christmas stamps could not be issued, as they did not meet the required criteria for special stamps. Regardless, Tony Benn pushed forwards, and by 1966 the first British Christmas stamps were issued, and they have remained an annual feature in Britain ever since. It was decided at that time that the designs should be the result of a competition amongst school children, and over 5,000 entries were received and judged by a team of 8 stamp designers. And finally, on the 1st of December, these 2 designs were selected as the winners. The first shows the King of the Orient, and the second, obviously, is that of a snowman. The last stamp I would like to share with you is an example of a high-value Christmas stamp. Sometimes a rarity is created in philately through an attempt by a country's post office to destroy all the examples of a stamp which have been printed. But occasionally a few examples slip through the net, and that's exactly what happened with the 1988 13p Christmas stamp, though with a particular twist in the story. The post office did a highly effective job of eliminating all the examples to be sold for common use, but allowed a few to go out as part of collections. So production was in full swing for the 13p second-class stamp in the run-up to Christmas, but then a Scrooge-like rise in the rate to 14 pence was effected. So wanting to take advantage of this increased rate, the post office immediately changed tack to make sure that only the 14 pence stamp was available. Unfortunately for them, they overlooked the fact that work had already started on the insertion into the 1988 yearbooks for the 1988 commemorative issues, which included this 1988 Christmas set, which had the 13 pence denomination. So the 13th denominations, they should have been replaced in the yearbooks, and that was what was intended, but some slipped through. And those few that escaped are now excellent investments. There are actually only 10 of these stamps recorded in mint condition, and they can sell for as much as £10,000 each. By the 1990s, there were around 160 postal administrations that had issued Christmas commemorative stamps. And most of those countries have issued Christmas stamps since then, which means it's a huge, voluminous area to collect, and you could actually build quite a sizable collection just focusing on one country. But it's accessible to everyone because, as I said, they were printed in large quantities and they're all very low value stamps. So if you're one of those people that wished it was Christmas every day, why not build a collection of Christmas stamps? I hope you've enjoyed watching this short video introducing you to Christmas stamps. And if you did, please let me know by liking and sharing in the comments box below. As always, if you want any further guidance or assistance in building your collection, feel free to contact me at info@paulfrasercollectibles.com. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.